Can everybody hear me? Of course. Now to bring this frivolity to a screeching halt. This piece I'm reading from is from my novel Hop, Skip, Jump. It's unpublished. It's a paranormal thriller about reincarnation and what might happen if a person returned to a place and time where she was needed the most. Should do well enough as a standalone flash fiction, I'm hoping. South Philadelphia, February 1955. Sarah Jane lay spent on the cement cellar floor, a nest of newspapers cradling her, an old winter coat open flat beneath her legs, its gray lining wet with melted snow and red-black birthing fluids. She worked her jaw from side to side, cramped from the cloth diaper she removed from her clenched teeth. It was 3 a.m. She had awakened no one. The memories that mattered and the faces they belonged to would not stay where she put them. She weathered their intrusion. Her new baby girl pulled tightly to her chest. All came rushing at her in whatever fashion her disheveled mind could arrange. A scalloped photograph of her as a child in her father's Studebaker, her hands on the steering wheel, her father next to her, him smiling at her and her black curls, she smiling for his camera, her 2 front teeth missing. A stabbing memory from a year later, with her at the top of a Ferris wheel, sobbing wildly, her father dead from a coronary in the seat next to her. Another photo, this one of her squirt brother in cowboy boots and she in a pink skirt and white bobby socks, her arm around his shoulder, the two of them in front of the Liberty Bell. An image of her mother's favorite shot glass, a sickening hint of whiskey in its amber-stained concavity. No photograph, yet one indelible memory. Her mother's cord-veined neck, seething face, roadmap eyes, and a lower lip wet from a spray of sarcasm. Her mother's words like a noose. Good riddance to you and your crazy voices. Don't none of you come back. She felt for her tapestry satchel, an eggshell tan overgrown with embroidered roses, their ruby petals blooming through caked street soot, her keepsakes and necessities inside. She opened her eyes, retrieved the 2 photographs from the bag, brought them closer to her new daughter's contented, suckling face. Introductions all around, followed by a special prayer of thanks to Mrs. Yancey, from one new mother to another, the mother asleep with her own child 2 floors above. This was a good neighborhood, clean, quiet, busy. 2-story brick row homes, most with nice couples living in them. Some still waiting for their husbands to return for good from the wars. Couples like the Yanceys, husband, wife, and a newborn girl of 2 months, their first child. Sarah Jane's face flushed at this impression. The caring Mrs. Yancey always had a tenderness in her eyes. Next door to the Yanceys, their front stoop shared, lived the Charmaines, Mrs. Yancey's pregnant older sister, and her husband, who was still on active duty. Mrs. Charmaine's look at Sarah Jane on the street was different, curious, interested, like a child on the bench in the park with a trail of breadcrumbs leading to her feet. Mrs. Charmaine's latest gift to Sarah Jane had been a receiving blanket. On colder nights, the cellar doors to both sisters' homes were left unlocked. Sarah Jane accepted this charity by way of quiet, late-night entrances from the alley and exits before dawn. Hers was a confused life made simpler 2 years ago, when at age 17 she left home. A life now contained in one soot-stained, lumpy tan and red fabric bag that followed her in a corroded toy wagon with rust-pocked white wheels as she walked the narrow streets of South Philadelphia. But things had changed. Simple had become complicated. Her bag was good for it. It could handle another life. Sarah Jane was not sick. She was not crazy. She was burdened. Yesterday, today, always. It was only one voice that sang to her, she told her hardened mother. Always just one voice. And this songbird's voice was lovely and musical and real. And unlike her mother, the songbird would never hurt her. The Yancey's coal furnace hatch was open on such a cold night. Sarah Jane needed it for light and warmth. The furnace fire was almost out. The cellar chilly now, a rosy pre-dawn horizon brightening the dusty casement window above the coal bin, the bin's plank door ajar at the edge of the coal pile. Her head drooped, then rose as she fought her exhaustion. Her pale palm and fingers black from stray lumps of coal she'd flicked into the furnace's belly. Her head drooped again, came to rest temple to temple with her baby, and stayed there as Sarah Jane closed her motherly eyes. She would sleep now, would let her dreams comfort her, would let them diminish the remnants of another bruising day. The taunts from the streets still ricocheting. Vagrant, beggar, pregnant whore, and the cruelest of them a play on her SJ initials, straitjacket. All names had shamed her, yet there was one name that did not, the songbird of Jackson Street. But the spirited soprano that often burst through her lips uninvited as she and her bag-laden wagon moved from street corner to street corner, this voice was not, and had never been, her own. She and this songbird with the beautiful voice dreamed. The furnace belched. 2 tiny coal fireballs skidded onto the cellar floor, one settling on the lining of her coat, the other on a greasy rag left on the fringe of the coal bin overflow. Her songbird took flight in their dream and chattered at her in earnest, pleading for Sarah Jane and her baby to wake up, to flee the fiery predator that was about to devour them, to join the songbird in safety. In the deadly carbon monoxide-filled air, the new mother was too tired to fly.